And welcome to StackHunters. I'm Bradley Stalder at FF Stalder on the X Machine. Tyler Knaeble joining me for a Bestball Mania live draft. But Tyler, we had so much fun at the Pinckney house, broing it up. What were your initial reactions to just seeing people in person from Player Profiler?
It was a blast, man. Like it was because I hadn't met anybody in person from Player Profiles. Like never met Jason, never met Matt, never met Theo. And tell you what, Matt Podfather, I thought a lot taller than I thought he was going to be. He's a lot taller than I thought he was going to be. He was like probably like 6'1" or something like that. He was I don't know. I see he said he goes in those basketball runs a little early morning. I see why. He might be a hooper, man. He's got a hooper body.
He might be. I had met Matt last summer. We went. I actually had the privilege of going to the Fantasy Mansion itself, where Matt and I had dinner. We smoked some cigars. We had a good time. We just broed it up, and the Pinckney house was amazing. Meeting everyone in person. Like Theo is a larger than life person. Like I don't know how else to describe him. He is a magnificent man, and there were so many others that it was such a privilege. Like I got to spend time with one of our friends, Josh Larkey, for like 2 hours just hanging out. And we went to the lake, and I got to pick him up from the airport, and like just spending quality time with guys who just across the screen we'd spend time with, but in being in real person, like we're a fantasy football site, but it's also like there's something special about meeting your friends in real life.
A ton of like behind the camera people that I've never met too. Like I like people who like work on the website or really aren't in front of the camera. They're not like on they're not on camera. Like those guys were really cool too, man. Like I enjoy. Like I bunked with most of them. I bunked with Nick Lynch. Like we hung out, had a great time. Dario was up in my room too. The crazy part about it, what I keep telling people is we had anywhere from like 15 to 18 people stay at the house. Nobody slept on a couch. Nobody slept on an air mattress. Everybody was in a bed, and we had 15 to 18 people there. That just proves.
I'm pretty sure I accidentally left my air mattresses there. I don't know who has them, but maybe I need to call the people up and be like, "Hey, where'd it go?" I
left my pillow and my towel there.
I need to text him. That's probably why the Airbnb guy got left a good review for us. Like they brought more than they left, than they took. So, anyways,
the fridge.
Yeah, whatever it works. The spilled chili. We won't talk about that anymore. But nevertheless, the people are here for an Underdog Bestball draft. Bestball Mania has launched this week, Tyler. It's phenomenal. We're excited. Before we get into it, any initial thoughts on the Bestball Mania 5?
Oh man, it's just I'm so happy that it's here. And I think the biggest thing, obviously, if you haven't played Bestball Mania yet, you're just kind of diving into it. The prize structure is kind of the thing that's everyone's been talking about this year. And I have a couple of my takes just about the prize structure in general. And throw my screen up here. I'll open it up here so the viewers can see.
So the people we're doing it for the people here. Give me a second.
People. Yeah.
We do all the things for the people. And to the stage.
There we go. So
boom.
A little small here, but you can see the prize structure. So we got let's just pay attention to this first is the round advancement. So obviously regular season is going to be, you have to be a top 2 scoring team out of 12 in the pod that you draft with. And then you advance to the playoffs. You got to be the top scoring team 1 of 13 after they reseed it, whatever you want to call it, repotted, I guess. Pod luck is the term that gets thrown around.
Pod luck.
Yeah, it's in the Underdog lingo. So, and then the week 16, the semifinal, 1 through 16. Like you have to. That's not easy to do. It's a reason it's only a 539 seed final. So it's the same exact prize pool money as last year, and I believe it's the same exact number of people in the final. But this year, so last year got $3 million. First place took home $3 million. This year it's only $1.5 million, but the breakdown of it's a lot more flat at the top, which people were really mad about last year, where last year I think first place took home $3 million last year, and then I think second got maybe, I forget if it was $1 million or maybe a 500K or something like that.
Yeah, it was like $1 million. Yeah.
Yeah, but basically you could have made the final and still like only walked away with like maybe around $1,000 or like $500. Like it was kind of crazy. So, but like if you look at it this year, if we go to top 539 right here, if you just make the finals, you get your entire, let's say you max entry BBM. So it's 150 entries, $25 an entry. You get your max entry fee back, which is $37.50. So I have the argument, and I'm interested to see what you think about this. I think week 16, I'm not going to necessarily say it matters more than week 17, but I think week 16, like that's something you should really, really, really be paying attention to, because I think, because even if you're just like, I'm just talking about like game stacking, right? Because you can still have like technically game stacks by just stacking in general, right? You stack
Correct.
up Jackson with Mark Andrews, you stack up Zay Flowers with Lamar Jackson, right? So I think there's an argument to be made that week 16 matters more than anything else this year, because even if you just get like a top 25 percentile, right? Let's say you get top 300, you're still going to walk away with $6,000. You're going to profit over $3,000, assuming you did the max entry, right? So, and you can just like luck into that. Like, I don't think you have to game stack week 17 game stack to just get like top 25th percentile, right? And then obviously, if you're going for the 1.5, which obviously everyone's probably going for the 1.5 million, then yes, you have to week 17 game stack, but don't be afraid to week 16 that thing too. Obviously, the schedule isn't out yet, but I'm definitely going to be memorizing week 16 this year, which I didn't last year, but week 17 will be in my brain. Week 16 will be in there too. You got to make room for something like that. When, I mean, like I said, it's in the hardest round, pretty much. I think you can make the case is that week 16 round where it's 1 out of 16 teams. It's the worst odds on the slate. So that's kind of my big takeaway. Just kind of looking at just the structure in general.
Well, and to build on that, I did a little bit of a data dive last year on the trends of how Bestball Mania has shifted in its importance of the different weeks. And last year, week 16 was even more important than, in BBM 4 than it was even in BBM 3. So Tyler, this continues the trend of the importance of and value of each of these money weeks, the week 15, 16, and 17 expected value trends, that if you do well in you're not just going for the nuts. Of course, week 17 is the nuts, and we want to be advancing as many teams as possible there. But what we've seen over the last few years is Underdog has been consciously increasing their expected values for teams that advance further in this tournament. And so that's something I want our viewers and listeners to be taking away ultimately, that this is a different tournament than last year, not only because of that shift, but also because of the eradication of the regular season money prize for the most points scored, which at least raised some eyebrows for intrigue, and there was regular season money that was tied to this. Tyler, tell us, it's not the case this year.
It's not the case this year. I mean, I think the first place prize for the regular season last year took home $500,000. So like there was definitely like if you like, it kind of made it so I quote like the term that gets thrown around, EV. Like if your EV
Right.
is higher, then that was a lot better for like regular season. It's not the case this year. Now the reason why I think week 16 matters more, because you just have to get to the final. Like obviously, whatever happens to the final, like that's how I'm approaching it. Whatever happens to the final happens to the final. Whatever happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. But it's really good. You're not going to be making a ton of money if you don't make the final. Like there's a 1,000 thing, right? Like if that's $1,000 right there, there's 500 here. So it is kind of more intriguing. The higher up you get, there's still some money to be had in week 16 just in general, even if you don't make the final. But it gets really interesting when you talk about just the regular season and just the flat price. Well, I wanted your opinion on it. Are you a fan of the eradication of the regular season prize, or what are your overall thoughts on it?
See, I liked the concept of the regular season prize insofar as, yes, like it reduces the sweat. Like you don't have this. Some people are not built for the sweat. Like it's okay. And it was a different way in which some people were playing that game last year. I think you're going to see a lot more of the stacking this year. And I was also developing a best ball value rating. I shared a lot of that with Tyler while we were at the Pinckney house and how that was developed. And I felt like that was a very valuable tool in that type of format if that was the target you were trying to get to. But best ball value rating is only really valuable now in the drafters format that's season long. Yes, like certainly in my mind, I have certain player values or like ranges of outcomes, and it can be a valuable tool, but I don't think it's going to be as applicable given now this eradication of the regular season prize. So I'm probably going to play more on drafters this year, given that Underdog is not as much on doing that regular season prize just because of that formula. But I'm still going to draft a lot of Underdog. It's just probably more drafters to try to do that style. And for those, but that's just the reality. Like there are lots of different formats and different ways in which, but like DK came out with their best ball this week. FFPC has had theirs. Our partners at FFPC, at Underdog here, they came out with it. So there are a lot of different ways in which you can play, and Bestball Mania now is just focused on this tournament style instead of the season long. So that's something to keep in mind as you're going through this. I wish they had kept it, but that's okay. I don't feel hurt by it at all. This isn't a Taysom Hill switching to tight end, switching to quarterback scenario. I'm not going to dig at that, but I don't feel betrayed at all.
Yeah. It's funny too you say that, because I remember distinctly last year when they came out with the prize pool that people were mad they added the regular season. Like people were legitimately like, oh, like we week 17, that's all we care about. We like the tournament style. So I think they kind of did they kind of appealed to both sides with this. You're never gonna make everyone happy, right? So, no. But I like this. I like how flat it is at the top. I'm probably not gonna be max entering BBM per se. So I kind of like, that you can still win some, like maybe win $1 grand in week 16 and not just get to the final. So I do like that about it, which, it's a blast. I think I've done like 5 teams so far. That's another thing we could get into maybe when the draft starts, is like how many teams should you be drafting when. I think, wasn't there a thing where like, I think the 2 of the BBM winners drafted the winning team on the same day? It was like some day in July. I forget what day it was, but yeah.
It was like the inflection point of news and knowledge, and and it was the perfect lapse, because you need to make a little bit of projection to have an edge, but you don't want to project so much because you're probably going to be wrong. That's the thing, is like the estimating your idea of how things are going to shake out in terms of who's going to get the work, who is the RB2, RB3 on certain teams that are more ambiguous. What are the depth charts looking like? There's also injuries that happen throughout the off season as well that may lead to players not playing for the rest of the season, or surprise retirements like, Tom Brady or Corey Davis or things like that may, like, just even one little wrinkle can derail the rest of your season. So, I mean, there are like different philosophies in terms of when to draft. Some people are very like, well, I'm just going to draft in July because that seems to be close to the inflection point. Some really like to spread their drafts out. They're like, well, I'll draft like, I don't know, 20 each month, and just evenly pace it out and get different edges at different places. And some drafters really like to hammer the last couple weeks right before kickoff to get the most information that you can possibly get. And that's where you would have gotten the Gus Edwards of the world, the Raheem Mosterts of the world. That's where you would have gotten the Kyron Williams, that's where you would have gotten more of those edges at that time period. So before Tyler and I kick it off, I'm really excited to be drafting with Tyler, because we had been chatting about doing all these drafts in the Pinckney house, but there was NFL content to be dived into. So we're going to take a moment break, and we'll be right back right after this. All right, Tyler and I are here to draft a BBM 5 Underdog Fantasy Tournament best ball team. For those who are unfamiliar with Underdog, like, this is you can go into the Underdog app, you can draft on desktop just like Tyler is. And the structure of BBM is you start one quarterback, two running backs, three wide receivers, a tight end, and a flex in a half-point scoring, 18 rounds. Now, this is not the pre-draft where it was 20 rounds. This is 18 rounds. And so, Tyler, how are you going to handle the shift now? All these pre-draft, drafts were 20 rounds. How are you shifting your strategy a little bit now?
I think the biggest thing is you have to look at the quarterback tight end situation, because it was really easy in those 20 round drafts, those pre NFL drafts, those contests, to go like my ideal build was usually going to be 3-6-8-3, three quarterbacks, six running backs, eight receivers, and three tight ends. Like it's a lot of stuff's going to happen between the contest opened in January to when the NFL, the season wasn't even over yet before they dropped their 2024 stuff. So there's a lot of things that are going to happen, but 3-6-8-3 is my preferred build. In these 18 round drafts, it's completely different. Like I think a good rule of thumb is you want to have five roster spots between your quarterbacks and your tight ends. So that means either two quarterbacks and three tight ends, or three quarterbacks and two tight ends. I think that's probably just a good rule of thumb. There's obviously exceptions to that. Maybe you just go only running backs and receivers for like 12 rounds or something like that. Like then maybe you can stray the course a little bit, get a little more fragile. But I think usually if I'm leaning one way or the other, it's probably going to end up being 2-6-7-3 or 2-5-8-3.
Yeah, I like that. I like that too. I like that two quarterbacks or three tight ends, three quarterbacks, two tight ends. I'm pretty intrigued by actually the three quarterback builds, given that we've seen so many injuries from our quarterbacks over the last couple of years. Like if you went fragile quarterback and you had one left and you were done. Like last year I was in the Pros versus Joes tournament and I had Anthony Richardson, Tua Tagovailoa. That was it. So like Richardson goes out after a couple weeks, I'm done.
It's tough, man. Like I think like you were really rewarded if you went like later QB last year. Like think of all the hits we had last year.
Brock Purdy,
Matt Purdy,
Stafford.
CJ Stroud was going, a little later. Like I think CJ Stroud was going after Bryce Young. Like you could have got CJ Stroud, I think, around 14.
There was a lot of hate for both Young and Stroud. There, like just ambiguity with. To be fair, Tyler, we expected Houston to be bad last year. There were not people thinking, oh, this is a playoff team. Like at least, like yes, they would improve. Many people thought, okay, they would improve. They brought Tank Dell, CJ Stroud, etc. They got a new head coach, but not many people said Houston playoff team.
Yeah, I don't think anyone was saying that except like Houston fans, right? Like even 8 weeks of the season, the Jags were 6-2. Like it legit, and then the Jags collapsed on the stretch. They finished their last 8 games 2-6. So, or 2-6, whatever that was. I kind of just look at 17 weeks. I don't really look at 18 weeks just from a fantasy perspective. But yeah, Jags were killing it. Texas they sneak in at the end, and there were a couple of games there where Stroud was out. Case Keenum comes in, gives them a win or two there. So it was really fun. But should we just hop into this thing right now?
Yeah, let's go.
Let's do it, man.
The people have been waiting, Tyler. We've been dawdling for too long.
And if you want to get in here, I mean, we got 10 spots left, so hop in here, draft with us, have some fun.
They filled the previous one. They were waiting for us to jump in. They were like, we got to get in. And oh man. So while we're trying to fill, I have a couple, since ADP has just dropped, Tyler, I think it's worth diving into a couple of the biggest risers and biggest fallers as we wait. Some of the biggest, the percentage wise, biggest risers in terms of ADP, okay, is obviously Curtis Samuel is one of the biggest ones. He seems to be a big winner, and I'm not like super worried about Keon Coleman insofar as, Curtis Samuel not going to get a 25% target share. There was room for Keon Coleman. And like at the beginning of the second round, you get Curtis Samuel at 17, maybe 20% target share and a couple of the rushes. Him rising up, I think, is a really good value still, given given what we expect his role to be. He was a priority free agent, and while he's one of the biggest risers, I still like drafting him.
Yeah, I share the same sentiment as you do. I was on my stream the other day, and we were talking about Curtis Samuel, and you just like I think the one thing that I love personally about Curtis Samuel is the connection with OC Joe Brady, right? Joe Brady was his offensive coordinator when they were in Carolina together. Pretty much like what Teddy Bridgewater's best year of his career, that one year in Carolina. It was like that weird Carolina team where it was DJ Moore, Curtis Samuel. There was the
Robbie Anderson,
the Mike Davis year where like he
yes.
was like winning people some championships. Like it was crazy. And we get the 103 here. We get the 103, so kind of a fun spot. I feel like I've been drafting a lot in the beginning in these BBMs. So we're at the 103. I always like to check and see if I know anybody in here. So I don't think so. Oh no, DJ Joe Mixon. I know who that is. Just kidding. I know who that one is.
Nice. So at the 103, the third average ADP has been Tyreek Hill, but I've seen in a lot of different drafts that I've been doing on other platforms. Look, maybe it's Tyreek, maybe it's Chase, maybe it's Bijan. I've seen Bijan or Breece Hall get steamed up pretty heavily. Like, I don't hate that. Like, is this the year where fading some of these mid wide receivers is the move?
I think one of these running backs could.
Round.
Yeah, one of these running backs, man, could I think Bijan and Breece have that CMC effect that he had last year. They have the potential to hit that this year. So it's going to be really interesting to see how that all plays out. Like if Bijan's anything just come up like the Rams system that everyone's been running, Kevin O'Connell came over from the Rams to run into Minnesota. Now we have Zach Robinson coming over from LA to run it in Atlanta. So who are you thinking here? I don't mind Tyreek. I like JJ, and I think Bijan's another name I'd be cool with.
Yeah, I think it's clearly Tyreek still.
Yep, I agree. Look, he was on pace to break the receiver record last year until he got hurt. And it's the same offense there. Like, yeah, they had Malik Washington, Jonnu Smith comes in, but it's nothing
that doesn't move the needle at all.
No, it doesn't move the
needle.
Anything,
it's a rising tide lifts all boats. There were times where, Tua just didn't have other options and just had to force feed into like bad situations to Tyreek and Jalen. And like they do their best. Like Tyreek and Jalen are two of the most talented wide receivers in the NFL. But like you're going to have other respect when you have speed guys like Malik Washington, like the running back Jalen Wright. You have other weapons coming out. I think this is a rebound season for the offense, at least in the second half. Because Miami, they also tailed off near the end.
Yeah, it's Miami's one of those teams where like they're just like the greatest. Like I don't even know. They're kind of like the Russell Westbrook of the NFL. Where like they're just great regular season electricity factory. Like all the highlights, all the plays, but Russell Westbrook's not the guy you want as like your best player in the NBA playoffs. It's two different styles. Like it feels like Miami lost every big game they played last year. Like, oh, this game's going to win us the division. This game's going to put us in first place. Like all of those games seem to just not go their way. And I think it might be an indictment on Tua. I'm not the biggest. I love Tua like for fantasy, he's going to have some of those high spike weeks just given the weapons and the offense that he's in, against maybe like some of those teams where it's like, like the Patriots or like a team, like another high scoring team that has a bad defense. But it just seems like they couldn't get over the hump of beating those good defenses last year. So I don't know. In respects to Tyreek, I think it's going to work out for us with this pick.
Well, looking at the first round, McCaffrey, CeeDee Lamb, Tyreek Hill, Chase, Jefferson, Amon-Ra over Bijan, then Bryce, and then Puka Nacua, AJ Brown, Jahmyr Gibbs, Garrett Wilson. Tyler, are there any surprises in the first round?
Bijan and Bryce both going after Amon-Ra, I think is interesting. That's not something I've seen a lot. I think Bijan at 7 and Bryce at 8 are good values. Could be an indication that we are in what the kids like to call a piss boy room. So we'll have to see it. We'll have to see if that transpires. Which makes you feel
for the people who don't know what Tyler's talking about, that means lots of wide receivers, lots of yellow on the board.
Yes, exactly. That's this color though, the wide receiver. That's why they call it the the piss boys. That's just like that's all I see on Twitter right now. It's the bet. It's funny too. It's like it's just underdog lingo. It's not even lingo anywhere else. It's like it's underdog lingo.
So looking at the second round, Drake London comes off at the 201. I understand a lot of the love for Drake London, and I get it. And we've seen him command 28% of the targets from year one. But I also am wondering, like, with a renaissance, hopefully, of Kyle Pitts, with Bijan Robinson, who got a 16% target share last year, with Darnell Mooney. Yes, we expect Drake London to be the wide receiver 1, but is it going to be dominant enough to justify taking him at that 1-2 turn, Tyler?
I think the case to make for it is you just like I just keep kind of relating everything back to the Rams because that's the offense that Zach Robinson came from. If Bijan, Pitts, and London can look similar to like that Kyren, Kupp, and Puka thing, like I think there's a path to getting there because Puka was that guy last year. But
we go HN, baby. We go HN.
Okay, let's go. Little Miami stack. There we go.
Yes. And then it's going to be so easy, Tyler. I don't want to say anything. It's going to be so easy you can fill in the blank. Yeah. But the reality is, I agree with you that it's the nuts could absolutely be there. Given Drake London's profile, he was drafted very highly in the NFL a couple years ago. We did see some underperformance, probably due to quarterback play. And so, there's a lot of hope. There's a lot of hope. And when there's hope for these wide receivers who haven't shown it yet, but are being steamed up so high, you have to wonder, Jalen Waddle, baby, let's go. Miami to the moon.
We're super
Miami
stacking?
to the moon.
All right, let's do it, baby. Let's do it. Let's super stack it.
I love it. All right. Before we dissect our Miami triple stack so far, a word from the Podfather.
This episode brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Underdog Fantasy has been sponsoring Player Profiler and everything we're doing here since 2020. Sign up. Use promo code UNDERWORLD for a 100% instant deposit match up to $100. 100% instant deposit match up to $100. And you're like, oh, well, everyone's on Underdog. Not true. There's plenty of people in this audience that have not yet tried out Underdog, and it's time. They're adding more sports. They're adding more contests. Like when we're heading into NFL draft season, there's the rookies and sophomores game. When you think about way too early fantasy football, that's what Underdog is. When you think about best ball, that's what Underdog is. And if you can pick players at the end of an Underdog Fantasy best ball draft that are under rostered, that few people are picking at all, and that guy, like Kyren Williams, hits, you will likely experience positive returns. All you need is that one guy at the end who no one else is rostering, and the way to find that guy is to listen to us. UnderdogFantasy.com. The promo code is Underworld. 100% deposit match up to $100 with promo code Underworld. Underdog makes everything we do possible.
Underdog and the Underworld back at it, Tyler. We need to use the promo code Underworld if you are new. That's right. Make sure you guys are doing it. Underworld. They've been a great sponsor. Shout out to the Underdog peeps and the platform. This is a lot of fun drafting in BBM. Whenever I get a chance to get to Ohio, it is a great time. Tyler had to go back to Minnesota to draft some more Underdog because the restrictions in Michigan. But we find as they say in Jurassic Park, life finds a way, and we find a way to be drafting here on the Roto Underworld platform. Player Profiler. I'm here with Tyler Knaeble at PPR Tyler on the X Machine. I'm Bradley Stalder at FF Stalder, and we just had a Miami triple stack go off. This feels like it's going to be too easy, Tyler. How often do you think that the Miami stack is going to be rostered?
It's so easy to get. If you just look at our ADPs, I mean, right, Devon Achon has an ADP of 21. We pick him at 22. Tyreek is 3 and 3. Waddle's 27 and 27. So this is an extremely easy stack to get. It's just whether or not you want to do it. So it's a lot of people can get this stack. A lot of people probably will have one of these stacks. Like if someone's maxing out this contest, I wouldn't be shocked if a lot like all those people at least had this stack at least once, twice, maybe 3 times. Right? This is one of the most elite offenses in the NFL when all things are going right. A great fantasy football, best ball offense. And it's great because it's, it's a very consolidated target tree, right?
Yeah.
It's either going to be Tyreek, it's going to be Waddle, it's going to be Achon, it's going to be Mostert. That's the way it was last year. There was really there was you could draft Barrios, but he didn't really do anything, right? Who else was there? Durham Smythe, the tight end. It was I think some people had.
I mean, people were trying to be sneaky drafting Durham Smythe. It's no, there's no sneakiness. I was trying to be sneaky drafting Julian Hill, but none of the platforms had him.
Yeah, I don't even know who that is. I'm not gonna lie. Is that the other tight end that people were talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I remember now. I remember.
You should watch some of his. You should watch some of his highlights. He's pretty good. We could go any which way here.
I like Higgins personally. Always we could also go Mahomes and get a stack with KC because those guys all come off the board right away. So we can go. We want to do a KC thing too with Miami. We could do that as well.
Yes.
Let's
do that.
All right. Let's do it. All right. Let's do it. And I want to get your take on this KC thing because if you look at the receivers right here, they pretty much all go back to back to back. It's Rashee Rice right here, Hollywood Brown, and then Xavier Worthy. But Xavier Worthy every day, he just gets more steamed up. I saw him go pick at 74. I was like, oh my God, his ADP is now pick 66. He's going to keep going up. He's the fun, shiny name. He's the one everyone's been talking about in Dynasty. I don't know if is he gonna be better than Hollywood Brown? I don't think he is. In year one at least. On my stream, one of the guys I had on, his name's Bestball Guy. Shout out, go follow him on YouTube. He's great listen, very sharp bestball player. But he was talking about, he made a really good point. Rashee Rice, they knew he was the guy last year, but it took him 8 weeks, mid-season to really get acclimated in that KC offense.
Right.
He scored a touchdown his first game, but they didn't really give him the reins until later in that year. So just something to think about with Xavier Worthy there. But yeah,
I think that the rumblings about Rashee Rice getting suspended, I do think that he gets suspended. The number has ranged from 2 to 8 games in the Pulse. For those who don't know, I run the news desk at Player Profiler, and I hear all of the things. Oh, T. Higgins comes back to us.
I like T. Higgins.
I mean, as our wide receiver 3, I don't mind that.
Yeah, it's fine. We stray away from the Chiefs thing. Maybe we'll get a really nice falling value on one of them. Who knows? We'll see. Let's
yeah, the Rashee Rice thing. I agree with you. And we've seen in the past, Rashee Rice take some time to get acclimated. The Chiefs didn't trust him right away. Same thing with Sky Moore. Sky Moore, another second round pick. Xavier Worthy, yes, drafted in the first round, but I mean, back end of the first round, it wasn't much of a trade up. But when we were all there, we were like, this guy could explode on the Kansas City Chiefs. And I think he's obviously better than Marquez Valdes-Scantling. Let's not put it two ways. MVS was just a field stretcher. I think Xavier Worthy can do a lot more than that. But have we not learned our lesson from Sky Moore and Rashee Rice in terms of, they're not going to be producing for the full season? I think that's our lesson learned. And so going with Hollywood Brown, who can step in right away and be, an 80% snap plus type of player, who has commanded 24-25% target shares in the past on Baltimore and Arizona. I think Hollywood Brown is the pivot here instead of Xavier Worthy.
100% agree. And it feels like Xavier Worthy and Marquise Brown are very, very similar players. Not exactly the same. Obviously, Xavier Worthy has the fastest combine in 40 in history, so he's different than anybody else we even compare him to. But they can both run routes. They're both deep threats. I think that's why people love Xavier Worthy so much, right? They just they think 4-2-1, they think Mahomes, they think deep threat, best ball. Deep threat, if you're gonna overdraft a deep threat guy, Gabe Davis was the guy last year. Gabe Davis in redraft, just regular Dynasty redraft, goes a lot lower than he does in best ball because Gabe Davis has access to those spike weeks that just some of these other guys I love Christian Kirk, but I think Gabe Davis had more spike weeks than Christian Kirk last year. It's just you got to look at those week winning abilities, especially in the contest like Underdog. Your whole process, your whole the things you think about should be can this team score the most points in one given week, because that's all that matters when you get to the playoffs. You advance out of the regular season, that's cool and all, but after that, you're looking for that single week upside. And these deep threats, like maybe not Gabe Davis so much this year, maybe like a guy like Brian Thomas Jr., right? A guy like Xavier Worthy. These names where they can just win you weeks where they have, maybe 4 catches, 175 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Like that's what we're looking for in Underdog specifically. And I think that's why people like Xavier Worthy so much. But don't forget, like Hollywood Brown's still that guy, man. He has some burners on him. He's on a 1-year deal. He's that contract year. If that's something you like to kind of pay attention to, like he's going to want to go out there, put some respect on his name and get a bag this offseason. And like, because somebody's going to pay him. I mean, the Chiefs paid him this season. I think they paid him like $15 million for the year. So that's not bad money, but he wants to go out there and get a multi-year deal from a lot of teams who are willing to give it up. Like, you don't think the Patriots will be sitting around next year? Like, yeah, just take $20 million a year from us. Like, just have it.
So to your point, last year, Gabe Davis, wide receiver 36 in best ball value rating. Christian Kirk, wide receiver 44.
Exactly. See? All right. What are we thinking here? Some spots to fill. I really like Evan Ingram. He's just like my favorite. You want to go Evan Ingram?
Yes.
Okay. If this drafter had a tight end there, I would say maybe we have some fun and try and push it around, but I don't want to risk it here, especially since like after Ingram, you get into that Bowers tier, and like Bowers upside. Like,
that is a massive tier break for sure.
Exactly. So like, there's the upside there, but Bowers could be just like one of like, just like a Kyle Pitts thing all over again, right? Where like you love the talent, but we got these tight ends. It kind of takes a little bit for them to.
Can you trust the Raiders? I mean, you couldn't trust the Raiders last year with Michael Mayer, and now Mayer is paired with Brock Bowers.
Yeah. So
yikes.
All right. Now, who are we thinking on the way back around here? Some names at receiver, and then we got some running backs here too. Obviously, we're good at QB. So
I've liked the Ramondre Stevenson. I've liked Aaron Jones in this range. I haven't minded Calvin Ridley as a wide receiver 4, given his upside. I also don't mind DeAndre Hopkins. Like, I know a lot of people are off of Tennessee, but I love the prospects of the Tennessee offense.
Both the running backs go there. This feels like a receiver pick here. Who do you like more? I mean, if we're just playing tiebreakers, we'll get it like a 9 pick. I mean, it's not that big, but 9 pick value on Ridley.
Yeah, I'd still take. Hopkins had the higher target share last year, but he is so close to the age cliff.
Yeah, you want to go Ridley then?
Yeah, let's go Ridley. They paid him a lot of money to do a lot of things in the Jamar Chase role.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. That's what Brian Callahan came out and said. And like, I think the thing you got to remember with Tennessee, right? Which like some people, it's so hard to just like envision. Like Tennessee is going to look on offense is going to be entirely different this year, right? It's not going to be a run-based team. It's not going to be just the Derrick Henry show. Like whatever. Like I mean, it was kind of the end of the road for Derrick Henry last year. Like O-line was terrible. Like it was just like they were stacking the box. Everyone knew what they were going to do. So. It works when Derrick Henry's in his prime. Maybe you have Arthur Smith calling plays in his prime too. But it's not going to work when Derrick Henry's getting old. The O-line's terrible. But anyways, this year it's going to look a lot like like the Bengals offense, right? Like that's what it's going to look like. You got the
it's going to be faster pace. It's going to be more pass heavy. You're going to see pushing the ball down the field. I think that when it comes to scheming players open, right, it was really hard to try to scheme a player like Treylon Burks open, but then you have players like Calvin Ridley and DeAndre Hopkins who have pedigrees of being schemed open and making big plays. Like, as much as people like to, Calvin Ridley didn't do this or that or whatever last year, like Calvin Ridley, when he hits really hard. And so we can't forget that he was one of my big buys last year in terms of, people were saying, he could be a 0. Calvin Ridley is wide receiver 21 last year in best ball value rating. Hopkins was wide receiver 23. So they were back to back pretty much.
And I think like we just bringing it back to that, that week winning upside, that deep threat, like Calvin Ridley is going to be much more of a deep threat than DeAndre Hopkins is this season, right? And you can still, I think, project some of that value for Calvin Ridley, just overall targets. It's probably gonna be pretty similar between him and Hopkins, but I think Calvin Ridley has access to that higher ceiling, just giving off like who's gonna be the deep threat there. Yeah, they've wanted Treylon Burks to be the deep threat, but he really hasn't been. And I think Ridley is kind of the guy who you could see, like you said, it's kind of like a Jamar Chase thing, where like Jamar Chase is going to catch some passes underneath, but he's also going to take the top off the defense too. And like Calvin Ridley, I mean, it was his first year back in playing football in like what 2 years, pretty much. Like he's missed the better part of 2 years, so he's gonna be pretty much back all the way. If there was any like rust he had to knock off last year, like this is the year for Calvin Ridley. I mean, he got his bag this year. So
let's go.
Yeah.
And Will Levis was the quarterback one in terms of air yards per pass attempt. So he's going to air the freaking ball out with Brian Callahan as the head coach. We want pieces of the Tennessee offense for cheap. So I like the late picks, and I think we can also be looking at some running back here.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because you really look at like let's open up the board here real fast. Like there's kind of these tiers where like there's that round 2 wide receiver tier like right here, and then you see there's like this is like the good running back tier, right? Like there's names like Samuel. We talked about we do like Samuel, but like Adonai Mitchell and Mike Williams and Jameis Williams, hopeful like.
Matt Kelly will fire you if you say anything nice about JMO.
I'm hopeful about Jameis. I'm not gonna have 30% Jameis Williams in my portfolio, but I'll be like consensus. I'll have like 8. I'll have like
I had a lot of JMO before he got suspended last year. It was terrible. Let me tell you, that was bad.
Yeah, but like this is a nice running back tier here, and I mean we're not thinking Mostert, like the handcuff thing, kind of a big no, but like these guys they kind of went off in different weeks last year. I think you can make a case with it, but I feel like we have so much Miami already. It just
it's fine.
If we're going,
and we don't know the bye weeks either to try to fill in bye weeks, so we have to play that a little conservative.
If you like Warren, I like Benson, Brooks too.
I like Benson, or actually, let's go with Brooks. I think Brooks.
Okay,
Brooks is so I did projections while I was at the Pinckney house, and Brooks projects as a round 2 player for me.
Like what do you mean round 2? Like round 2 in
top 20, like a top 24 player.
Oh, okay. Tell me more about this, because I mean, if that's even remotely true, this is a great pick right here.
So Jonathan Brooks, coming off the ACL, projects to be ready to go, and like we've seen this team move up for the running back. The new head coach went out of his way to say that they were going to explore the running back position. And that is a polite way of saying he looked at the tape and said, Chuba Hubbard, you're not it. Miles Sanders, you're garbage. And that's why they traded up to get the best running back in the class by far. And the only asterisk was, Jonathan Brooks tore his ACL, blah, blah, blah. Like, I don't think that that's viewed as a big deal. And they're going to put him in positions to just have massive, massive weeks. So
we're on the clock again. Still some of our guys here. Warren is still there.
I like Zach Moss.
There. I like Zach Moss too. He was a big winner from the draft.
And we can pair him with T. Higgins, right?
Oh, yeah, 100%. Let's do it then. Boom. Let's do it. Zach Moss, like he was on pace to be a league winner last year, and he was probably one of those guys that got you to the playoffs, right? Because like he was a name no one was really talking about because the whole JT debacle was going on. Like, yeah, he was getting drafted, but like at that point in the Indianapolis backfield, Evan Hull was kind of the more sexy name coming into that whole ordeal. So, but yeah, I mean, Zach Moss earned his contract that he got this year, and it's just him and Chase Brown, who Chase Brown had a couple of nice big plays, but he isn't like, I don't think he's going to take serious work away from Zach Moss.
Yeah, Chase Brown's not built to do that. He doesn't have the pedigree to do that. Zach Moss, between the tackles, grinder. We saw Joe Mixon get a lot of the goal line work. We saw Joe Mixon have a 4-touchdown game, 5-touchdown game. Massive touchdown upside in the Cincinnati offense. And Zach Moss, while he's not super fast, not super agile, doesn't have a lot of the metrics that look good. It just looks like he's been a better running back since he's been in the league. And the Cincinnati Bengals signed him to a good contract to be the lead running back. And last year he was running back 23 in terms of best ball value rating. So to get him here in round 9? Yeah, we like that on a good offense. There's a lot of positives for Zach Moss. And of course he correlates with T. Higgins. We're here for this.
Here for it all the way. And yeah, you said running back 23 in best ball value rating. We got him as the running back 30, so off the board. Yeah,
and he started the year, as the backup, and And even worse, there was a lot of love for Evan Hull, and now, Evan Hull, I think, is also another player that we can be interested in later on in the drafts. But Zach Moss was better last year for best ball on a per game basis than Austin Eckler, Tony Pollard, DeAndre Swift, Najee Harris, Gus Edwards, Ramondre Stevenson. I mean, you name it, Jalen Warren, you name it, he was the guy.
Yeah, 100% agree. And I kind of like having these balanced builds. Like this feels like a balanced build. I like being like not forced into taking anything. We got 3 running backs. We have 4 wide receivers, a tight end, and a quarterback. So we're not really forced to take anything with this next pick or two. We can kind of just, take the best
Take
player
a value maybe, or a player we like, for sure.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's always a fun way to draft, where you don't feel like you don't start 6 receivers with your first 6 picks. You're like, okay, now I got to catch up. When maybe, like a guy like, maybe Calvin Ridley just fell 2 rounds, but you can't, it's really hard to take him because you just invested all that capital at your first 6 picks. Right. So It's always nice being balanced. It leaves you open to different possibilities, in my opinion.
I love it. While we're still going around on the board, one of the biggest fallers was Rashee Rice last year, or this offseason, since over the last month and a half, has been Rashee Rice. He's dropped from ADP 25 at that 2-3 turn down to 46 at like that 4-5 turn. And that's an 82% drop in ADP. That is more than double the next closest player, not just like wide receiver, but player.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and that was Nico Collins. Okay, on the clock, we've got.
I really like Tyjae Spears. I don't know how you feel about Spears.
We've got some Tennessee, so let's
go
with
it. Tennessee. I just think that, man, like Pollard went where in this draft? Like, are we just 100% sure Pollard's gonna just like vastly outproduce? Yeah. So Pollard went in the 8th. Spears goes around over 2 rounds later. Like, are we just 100% sure that Pollard's like gonna be clearing away the number 1? Like, you'd like to think that, but like Spears was literally stealing work away from Derrick Henry, who like no one had ever been able to do that in Derrick Henry's center, right? Like Dion Lewis, no. Jeremy McNichols, remember him? Darrington Evans, remember him? Like, no one could ever steal the work away. I think they always wanted to do it, but no one just was ever good enough. And like Tyjae Spears not only like came in, I think out of like the 17 games they played together or whatever it was, I think Tyjae Spears had a higher snap percentage than Derrick Henry in like 9 of the 17 games. Like he outsnapped Derrick Henry in more games than Derrick Henry outsnapped him, which is crazy. But all right, probably feels like a receiver pick here. Any other names that you like?
No, it's gross.
Shaheed, if we're just going upside, Palmer, I think could have some nice value.
Palmer, I think is,
yeah.
Yeah.
He has the most rapport with any receiver. I guess
Blake Corum. Okay, but we could go with that. That's fine.
Yeah.
When it comes to my projection, so I did initial projections for Tennessee, and I did have Tony Pollard ahead of Tyjae Spears, but it was mostly based on the rushing and the rushing touchdowns. Because last year, Tyjae Spears' median rush share was only about 24%. Last year, Tony Pollard handled 56%. I think that both of them are going to be very involved in the passing game. I have both projected for over 40 receptions. And so, in the half PPR, I do think Tony Pollard is going to be the value because of his build. And I think just unlucky. He was unlucky last year in terms of the goal line work. He could have had so many more touchdowns, just didn't fall the right way for him. So they bring in Tony Pollard and a redundant skill set player like Tyjae Spears. This is a rising tides lift all boats. Stay on the field, and they'll rotate through them, though. I don't think it's going to be a 90-10 split or anything like that. It's not going to be clearly Pollard as like 75-25 even. I think that, he's going to get 50-something% or 45, whatever it is. And Tyjae Spears is still going to be a really dynamic back. But you have to remember, Spears came out of the draft with no ACLs. Like, he is a ticking time bomb. So
it's only year 2 for him, though. It's only year 2. It's only year 2. Dynasty, little bit different, but for this year, I think he's going to hold up. I mean, I think he played every game last year. I have to double check on that, but I mean, he was like another reason why I like him, because you can win a couple different ways with him. So we look at the running backs that have came off the board. Blake Corum, like if Kyren Williams doesn't get hurt, Blake Corum's probably not going to give you like a lot of weekly upside. Just assuming, right? You look at the
LA Rams beats are already saying it's going to be 70 Kyren, 30 Blake Corum.
Exactly. Same thing with Charbonnet. Charbonnet is another name where, like, yeah, if Kenneth Walker gets hurt, Charbonnet could have huge value. I think Tyjae Spears could have, just weekly upside. Even the Titans OC came out and said that they view this backfield as 1A, 1B. Like that, like right when they signed Pollard, I think that was like the first thing they said, like it's a 1A, 1B backfield. So I think these guys be going a little closer together. Yeah, it's only a 2-round disparity. And I think Pollard does have, he's just a bigger body than Spears, and Pollard's not even all that big. But so I think he has that more that touchdown upside, which like in underdog touchdowns is pretty much the only thing that matters to some respect. But even so I think Spears has weekly upside because he's going to be on the field all the time. And if anything happens to Pollard, like you're still getting that handcuff upside too, where like he's probably going to be more the guy in that offense too. So a couple different ways you can win with Spears, which is why I like him so much at this range.
Look, it's so tempting to take one of the two running backs there. Oh, Zeke just went off. Jalen Wright. I know we hammered Miami, but man, oh man, the way they rotate through the running backs, like it's always going to be two of them.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's going to be so hard to pass him up.
I know everyone hates him right now, but Legette, are you like, if he's anything at all, he's a best ball guy, right? Size, speed, deep threat. Like they trade up to get him. Obviously, they trade up one pick to get him, but like, I don't know. He's a click I've liked, and I'm just waiting for the training camp buzz. Like he could just move up these boards like really fast.
We can get some exposure to him. Sure.
Let's do it. I'm glad I talked you into it.
Twist my arm.
I just like, I think one thing we should talk about too is half the battle with drafting this early is who do you think has a chance to rise? Who do you think has a chance to fall? And like a guy like Legette, where like he's getting the, like if we come training camp time and he's just getting all this buzz, like the beat report comes out, Xavier Legette looking like the most, the quote they love to use in training camp reports is Xavier Legette looking unguardable in training camp or in practice, or he's going to be the number one, early favorite to be the number one in Carolina. Like, where to get those reports? Or like, say what you want about Legette, but these rookies, I think they have a really, like, Legette has a higher chance to rise up boards than I think a guy like Dotson does, than a guy like Wilson does, than a guy like QJ does. So it's almost even about just like predicting where their value is going to be come July, come August. So I think that's another reason to talk yourself into some of these rookies, a guy like Legette specifically.
I think it's pretty easy to project Legette as the wide receiver 2 there behind Deontay Johnson. Adam Thielen fell off the proverbial cliff again. We're on the clock, and Jalen Wright is still staring at us.
Do you want to roll with Jalen Wright?
Oh man,
if anything happens to Mostert or like anything happens to either of them, I don't mind Dotson here either. I think he's a fun click, but
I like Jalen Wright. I liked him a lot in the pre-draft process.
Let's go Jalen Wright then. Let's do it.
Beautiful. And then we can focus on quarterbacks, tight ends, some wide receivers. I think we're pretty good with running backs right now.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. This feels like a 5 running back build. I mean, we've took our 5 through 13 rounds. Like, it feels like this is just going to be a 5 RB build. So,
but Deontay Johnson, I still think, is going to be the wide receiver 1 here in Carolina. Legette could be the wide receiver 2. Adam Thielen fell off the cliff during his final season in Minnesota, had a renaissance during the first half of the season in Carolina last year. And I looked like a fool not selecting a lot of Adam Thielen in my 2023 best ball portfolios. However, when he fell off the cliff again and was just like, his PFF receiving grades, yards per route run were just trash, just absolute garbage, some of the worst in the league. Yes, I felt vindicated. However, it's clear that the Carolina Panthers knew that receiver was still an issue. That is a damning statement for Jonathan Mingo. It's damning for Terrace Marshall. You have these other wide receivers with good enough draft capital invested, and they're just saying, no, we're going to go get Deontay Johnson. We're going to go draft Xavier Legette. Like, those guys are in the wind. And so the pathway is very easy for Legette to be the wide receiver 2 and still get 15-18% of the target share on a team that, yeah, they draft Ja'Tavion Sanders, but we already talked about how rookie tight ends have been hit or miss, and Sanders did not profile. Like, there were some red flags that came up in the pre-draft process for Ja'Tavion Sanders, him falling to the 4th round even. So I think there is a strong pathway for Xavier Legette, even if maybe there are some flags with his profile as well.
And the way I look at it too, if Xavier Legette is just Gabe Davis, this is a smash pick in the 12th round. If he's just Gabe Davis, like, that's not even asking for that much. Like, just be fast and be big and catch touchdowns. If he could just do that, like, he doesn't even need to have like that much of a target share. Like, he just has that, like I said, that weak winning upside that I don't think a guy like Dontavian Wicks has, like Michael Wilson has, like Troy Franklin, different story. But I mean, Xavier Legette went 3 rounds higher than Troy Franklin. So I think I didn't expect to like Legette this much. I do love his action. That's not why I like him so much. But it's
Are you sure? I think there's some bias there, Tyler.
It's easier to click on him. I'll say that, maybe like 1% easier, but it's just, I think I get the red flags, but it's nothing. What are the big red flags, right? It's the not early production. That's like just the biggest one. And there's like the size, speeds concerns, but I think he graded out on reception perception just fine. Like, and it's like, it's this style, like, you're just, underdog best, like underdog upside. That's all you need to think about. Upside. And
he correlates with, our Carolina pick earlier.
Exactly. So I don't know if he hits, like, his ceiling is DK Metcalf. Like, that's what. Can we get a go Thurs? So one of my that was what was it on last night's stream on PPR Talk, which we're going live right after this on my channel at PPR Talk. Drop a sub, drop a like. We'll be going doing a schnauzer draft, a little schnauzer draft right after this. But somebody, one of my friends, he's a Panthers fan. I posted the Xavier Legette voice thing on my Instagram, and he replied to it. And he lives he's from Minnesota. He lives in South Carolina, and he just said, "Go Thurs." And I have a couple Panthers fans in my community. I was like, do you guys actually say Thurs? And none of them said they've never heard of it. So now we just say go Thurs.
That's phenomenal. As we're getting closer to our next pick, I think we click on a Tennessee Titan quarterback here.
Let's do it. I mean, correlates perfectly, right?
This is beautiful. This is what dreams are made of. Hey now.
I love that.
So we've got stacking. We have a naked Mahomes,
That's fine. That's fine.
Yeah, like, whatever. We've got a naked Mahomes. We've got Will Levis. I think we can look at, I mean, do you want to go? Adam Thielen goes off.
If we're thinking tight ends, I think some high upside guys. If we want to draft one, we got Jonnu, we got Likely. We saw what he did in Week 17, especially last year. We got the Senator.
I'm here for all the Ben Sinnott.
So am I. He was a great. It's the Senators off the board. He was a great 20th round pick in those early best
click.
Oh
click.
God, he was so
smash.
Great.
Click.
Now, out of curiosity, how much of him did I have? Because now I want to check. I don't think I've checked this actually yet. I had 6.9%. Yeah, I'll take it.
That's not bad given the last round ADP.
Yeah. All right. Jonnu for Miami. Hunter Henry. I think he could have some upside this year as well. Juwan, I'm not really interested in, but. You want to go tight end? We could go. I don't really like any of these running backs.
Give me 1 second. I'm pulling up the tight end data. Henry was tight end 13. Likely was tight end 18. Jonnu was tight end 19 last year.
Go Hunter Henry. We don't need the Miami stack anyways.
Yeah.
We have enough Miami.
Hunter Henry, baby. I mean, the New England Patriots did address the wide receiver position in the draft with Jalen Polk and Javon Baker, and they still have Demario Douglas. They have the ghost of Juju Smith-Schuster. Like, they have meh pieces, but when it comes to the red zone, Hunter Henry delivers, and he has been delivering for years.
He does deliver, and I think the one thing I was just thinking about it while you were saying that is he does deliver in the red zone. The only problem with that is I feel like he only delivers in the red zone. Like I'm gonna look up his game log real quick, and this is just off memory, so that's why I want to back it up with the stats. But I feel like there was at least 2 or 3 games last year where he would just have like 2 catches, 8 yards, and a touchdown. Like a lot of games like that where what are the games he scored in? So the games he had touchdowns in, we have maybe I'm wrong. Okay, yeah, maybe I'm wrong. There's one 4 catch, 39 yards, 1 touchdown game. 652, 1, 5. Okay, I was wrong. See, that's why we checked the stats.
Hunter Henry is a baller. Like he is a dog, and he catches touchdowns, and that's what we want from a guy like this in this type of round. We've got Evan Ingram with the PPR upside. You have to stay on brand, Tyler. And then we get the touchdowns from Hunter Henry. So we've got some nice floor, some nice ceiling sprinkled in. This is, as you mentioned at the midpoint of this draft, a very balanced draft with lots of stacking, team stacking, lots of correlation. Even though we don't know when the bye weeks are, I expect that the bye weeks will be announced in the next week or so. That's what I'm hearing rumblings wise. There's the calm before the storm, because these teams, they find out when the schedule is, and then they get their PR teams to make really cool, videos for the schedule reveal. It's a lot of fun. But real talk, like, we don't know when the bye weeks are. And so what we're leaning into is either team stacks or divisional correlation, right?
100%. And we have a little Tennessee, Jacksonville on the horizons here. I think that's the only one we really have, though. Oh, Tennessee. I just said Tennessee, dummy. Cincinnati with no one, Carolina, no other NFC South, that is. But all right, we're coming back up here. I feel like this draft's kind of flying by, and I think one thing I want to talk about, just because we don't have any. We do have Hunter Henry, but you were talking about New England. These New England guys, you can get them cheap, and one of them is gonna steam up, like we said, in the summer. Like Javon Baker in the 16th round feels like a really, really nice value. Polk goes a little higher than him, and Demario Douglas goes higher than I think it goes Polk, Demario, then Baker. But like in a situation like New England's in right now, Javon Baker he was my 3rd most drafted player pre-draft or pre-NFL draft, and now like I think you just still take him because he's the lowest. He's the lowest cost of these New England wide receivers, and we don't know what that room's going to look like. And there just seems to be a new clip of Javon Baker coming on every day. Today, he was like, I don't know how there was 10 receivers drafted over me, or something like that. He's like dripping sweat on a field somewhere. Like, no one's going to outwork me. But like, it's just
you just love to see it.
You just love to see it. Exactly. So we're back up on the board. I don't know what we're thinking here. We could go 3 QB. We could probably go with 2 though. If we want to go Bryce Young, it would correlate with that Carolina stuff we got going on.
Dave Canales, I think we go 3 quarterbacks. Let's go Bryce Young, Dave Canales, quarterback whisperer. He resurrected Baker Mayfield. He resurrected Geno Smith. We are here for Dave Canales' resurrection of the number 1 overall pick in Bryce Young. So give it all to me.
Especially on a team that we have Mahomes, a little naked Mahomes. I think it's good, probably a good idea that we do get, more of that stacking. We had the Tennessee stack going on, but now we have the Carolina. So, some outs there. If Carolina goes off, right, or Tennessee goes off in any given week, we'll have that correlated up. And so we have 2 picks left in this draft. Probably feels like a little wide receiver and tight end with our last 2. We said we were good at running back. The names I'm interested in at wide receiver, I do like Wandale. I know Neighbors is there, but I think Wandale, still, it could be
I love Wandale
in the slot.
Wandale is he is just like a high floor, low ceiling type of player, which is not sexy, but he's like this late is definitely the type of player that you want to be taking because you're guaranteed points. You're guaranteed like 8 half PPR points, 7, 9, whatever it is. Wandale Robinson. Did he go off?
No, we got him. We got him.
Let's go, baby. Wandale.
17th round, especially. He's very sexy in the 17th.
For sure.
All right.
I'm pretty sure that one of the Bestball Mania winners drafted him in the last round. Yeah?
I think you're right. I think you're right on that. Also, too, I didn't even realize I said tight end for our last pick, but we already drafted 3 quarterbacks. And I feel this tight end room is fine. We have Ingram and Henry. Like, I don't think we need to force it and take a guy that we don't like. Like, Noah Fant is my biggest stance this season. I said I want to have at least 30% Noah Fant. Like, I am all in on Noah Fant. I've been banging the table for that guy. And I haven't been on him in the past. So I think another phrase that people like to throw out is take lock. I don't have take lock. This is the first year I've been in on Noah Fant. Like, I love the new offense that they're going to have. Ryan Grubb, the Washington OC, coming over to Seattle. And they're just like Pete Carroll was obsessed with running the ball, obsessed with 12 personnel, just loved Will Dissly, loved Colby Parkinson. Those guys are out of town this year. Another thing that gives me confidence about Noah Fant is they re-signed him for $10 million a year. Like, Kyle Pitts is going to make $10 million a year on the 5th year of his franchise tag. Like, it's not like the most expensive tight end contract of all time, but that's a good chunk of change for a guy who hasn't really done much and disappointed as a first round pick overall. So I think it's going to be 11. They're going to throw the ball a ton. He's going to be on the field. It's not going to be any more of this Colby Parkinson, Will Dissly BS. I think Noah Fant's the guy to have there now. And I think the passing volume is going to be a lot higher than people expect this year from Seattle.
Right. And looking at their tight end room, Brady Russell, AJ Barner, Pharaoh Brown, Tyler Mabry, right? Like that's it in terms of established players. Noah Fant, first round pedigree, elite athleticism. We've seen spike weeks from him in the past. Yes, give us Noah Fant. I'm here for this. I love the take.
100%. Thank you. I'm glad someone's on board. Okay, we're probably thinking one more receiver, or we could go running back if we wanted to, but there's just not a lot of guys like Braylon
Blake Watson.
You want to go Blake Watson? What team does he get signed to? Do we know? I'm not.
Denver Broncos.
Denver Broncos. And yeah, if there's any pathway to a undrafted rookie, kind of coming on the scene, think Jaleel McLaughlin.
Right. I don't think we're actually going to draft Blake Watson. I don't think we need to, but I want to put that name out there in your dynasty leagues because he is going undrafted in a lot of 4-round rookie dynasty drafts. You need to be picking up Blake Watson. He had great profile. He was PFF's 117th player off their big board, and he went undrafted. Like PFF, the grades were there. He was second among all running backs in terms of targets and receptions last year and had one of the best PFF receiving grades out of Memphis. And we know some running backs who came out of Memphis: Kenneth Gainwell, Tony Pollard, Antonio Gibson, just to name 3. So yes, there is pedigree, there is production, there's pass catching. Those are the 3 Ps for Blake Watson.
All right. Probably I like it.
I didn't realize I was going to go on a speech about Blake Watson.
No, I like it.
Here we are.
You were in on Blake Watson. There was that clip that we did on the mock draft live doing a dynasty rookie mock draft in
2 months
late
ago.
February. It was a while ago. And you said the name and we watched the clip. Seth didn't even know who you were talking about. And Seth's a very, very sure. He was really in tune with all the rookies. I don't even know who that is. But so you were in on Blake Watson. But receiver here, we were looking at stacks, Treylon Burks. I just
don't want to take zeros here.
Yeah.
Zay Jones
DeMarcus
just got
Robinson
cut.
Doesn't feel like a zero. DeMarcus Robinson's could be the wide receiver 3 in LA.
Let's go DeMarcus Robinson. I like that call.
Yeah. You look at the way he finished last year. Let me just pull it up real fast here. Do we remember? He was out there. I don't even think he was on that many rosters. But if he was, he was probably winning you some weeks. This guy last year, he closed the year with a little week 17, 10 targets, 6 for 92. Week 16, 6 targets, 6 catches, 82 yards and a touchdown. He had 4 straight weeks, 13, 14, 15, and 16. 4 straight weeks with a touchdown, all over 40 plus yards. He was nice last year for them, and they re-signed him.
They re-signed him. Tutu Atwell is trash. Ben Skoranek is trash. I love them as people, but they are not good when it comes to football. So yes, I think the wide receiver 3, and then with Cooper Kupp's injury history and Puka Nacua constantly getting banged up, it felt like Puka Nacua is the Isaiah Pacheco of wide receivers.
Ooh, okay. Is Is that disrespectful or not disrespectful? I can't even tell.
That's in his play style. Like he's just a tough
okay,
guy.
okay.
He's just a tough guy. He's
Yeah.
gonna play it tough. He's gonna push, and he's gonna make the tough catches. He's good. Like you know how Isaiah Pacheco's a hard runner. Like I think in a similar way, you see Puka Nacua just balling out there. But you know both Kupp and Nacua were banged up at various points last year. So I like the Demarcus Robinson pick.
There we go. See, I think he's a nice 18th round pick.
Excellent. Well, Flush Fantasy does want us to indulge him and see what his team is. DJ Joe Mixon. Yeah,
Let's do it here.
And then
this is always easier. There we go. All right, so DJ Joe Mixon, Flash One Fantasy. Lamar Jackson, Baker. And then I'm guessing, do we have no Baltimore stacks except for Rashad? But we got Godwin, we got Mike Evans. There's a Tampa Bay correlation there. Running backs are looking like Montgomery, B-Rob, who I do like, Blake Corum, I like. Ford, I think Ford's a nice pick too. I think because Nick Chubb's going to miss a lot of the season, or like at least probably
the first six.
He's probably going to get put on the pup for sure. So and then we don't know what Chubb's going to look like when he gets back. I have a hard time. They're just going to be like, oh yeah, here's your 25 carries again. Like that's just not going to happen.
No.
So Dobbins upside there, Deonta Foreman, and then we got our receivers: Amon-Ra, Debo, Mike Evans, Amari Cooper, Chris Godwin, J-Mo, Rashad.
Lots of Cleveland. Lots of Cleveland.
There we go. And then we got Fance, my guy, Conklin, Bowers. For this Fance, I give this team an A+.
Conk. Phenomenal. Outstanding, Tyler. Well, make sure you guys are following Tyler on the X Machine at PPR Tyler Knaeble here with me on the StackHunters. Tyler, it's a pleasure drafting with you, getting some analysis, getting some drafts in. Lots of fun. If I'll have to send you some money so that if we win, we can split the pot.
Oh, we're splitting the pot either way, man. If this is the one, it'd be crazy. Just like looking back on this and like January next year, it's like we could just rewatch the stream that we just. Like, what were we thinking at the current time?
Oh my gosh,
kind of fun to look at that. But yeah, thanks for having me on. We got to do this again sometime this summer. Maybe we'll do like a midway check-in just for like training camp, something like that, or do another BBM team. And make sure if you're watching right now, I'm going live on my channel literally right after this stream ends. We're going to be hopping on doing another draft. So come hang out with us there. It's an absolute blast.
I'm Bradley. This is Tyler. On behalf of Tyler, this is StackHunters. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel. Until next time, good luck in the best ball streets, everybody.
From the Podfather to you, I deeply appreciate you tuning in. And many ask, what can I do? What can I do to help support the hosts, the research they do, the production costs? Go to playerprofiler.com, Dynasty Deluxe, World Famous Draft Kit, Rankings, DFS Dominator, and of course, data analysis. Subscribe to any one of those, and you support all of us and take Player Profiler to the moon.